Hola, bueno, este es Aaron con ANET Computers de ANETcomputers.com. Hello, this is Aaron with ANET Computers from ANETcomputers.com with another video. This one deals with adding a secondary hard drive on a desktop computer. I filed this under PC hardware installation, secondary hard drive, how to install a second SATA drive. So this deals with SATA hard drives and not IDE. So how to install a secondary SATA hard drive. If both your hard drives are SATA, then what you will do is use a SATA cable numbered 1 for your primary hard drive. Use SATA cable number 2 for your secondary drive or your old drive. And then on some of the computers I use, the cables are numbered 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and even on the motherboard, I think a lot of times they're numbered 0, 1, 2, 3. It just depends on your computer. But as long as they're sequential, as long as you're going in order, either 0, 1 or 1, 2. And then obviously 0 is your first hard drive, your primary hard drive. 1 is your secondary hard drive, your second drive, even though it's numbered 1. And then if you're using 1, SATA connection 1, that's your primary drive. SATA connection 2, that's your secondary drive. And then I also want to clarify real quick, this is for desktop computers with SATA. This isn't for laptops. That's a different video. There are some laptops that you can install more than one hard drive, but I'm not going to go over that in this video. SATA cables are marked with numbers. Try to boot your computer up with your drive set this way, and it should work. If that computer does not boot or boots off a wrong drive, go into a BIOS and make sure a boot order is correct. So this image is apropos. It shows your first boot device as CD, DVD. That's not really that important in this video. It could be a floppy drive, it could be network, or it might not. Number 1 might not be a CD, DVD on your computer. But I wanted to use this image because of the second and third boot devices. As you can see, the second boot device is a SATA, and then the model number isn't important. It's probably a Western Digital. I think that's what the WDC and the WD stands for. But I just want to show you real quick that in the BIOS, it'll show you 2 hard drives, and then they should be in order. And then one quick way is to know your hard drive manufacturer. Maybe you've got hard drives that are different manufacturer, like one is a Toshiba, one is a Western Digital. If you quickly go into your BIOS, you should, and then if your Toshiba was set for number 1 and your Western Digital was number 2, then in the BIOS it should show as your first hard drive should be Toshiba, your second hard drive should be Western Digital, as long as you hook them correctly to the motherboard in sequential order, and then with the, obviously, connecting the cables in sequential order as well. Your new, and then this blog post was written for a client that wanted to install a new 1.5 terabyte drive, but they wanted to master and slave, so to speak, their old hard drive. So anyways, your new 1.5 terabyte SATA hard drive, your drive might not be obviously 1.5, it might be 500 megabytes, 250, 160, whatever. But just as an example, your new 1.5 terabyte SATA drive should be listed first, with your older drive listed second. Check out and adding a hard drive HP page. And then this blog post was written for a HP computer, and then at the end of this video, well, you should be able to follow these instructions for any computer, not just an HP, but this blog post was written for a specific HP computer. So, and it was an HP Media Center M7250N desktop PC that supported SATA and had SATA connections, etc. So adding or replacing a hard drive in HP Pavilion Media Center TV M7000, 8000 series desktop PCs. I'm not going to go over this because you might not have an HP. But it quickly tells you what to do. Turn off your computer. Put the computer up on a flat surface but not on carpet. What else? Anti-static. If you want to add a second SATA drive, you're going to have a second SATA cable. I'm not certain if all computers are shipped with secondary cables. If you bought a brand new computer, HP, Lenovo, Toshiba, Sony, whatever, desktop computer, and you only had it with one hard drive, I'm not certain whether or not it will come up with an additional cable or not. You might have to go out and buy an additional cable. You would just want to buy a standard SATA hard drive cable. They are basically on both ends are the same. Or what you could do is you could open up your computer case and then look at what cable is already installed. It might have a part number, it might not. It might not even be labeled. So a lot of times they're red, sometimes they're blue, but red is a popular color. Not always red though. And then that way you could quickly get on the internet and look for one. But it's just a standard SATA hard drive cable for desktop computers. That shouldn't be too difficult to find. Or you could go to Best Buy if you don't want to buy one online. I don't get paid by companies that I talk about, except for companies that I'm an affiliate with, but I always tell you if I'm an affiliate or not, or a reseller. But I don't get paid by Best Buy. I have no idea why they would pay me. But anyways, you could go to Best Buy or what Micro Center. I'm just trying to think of some popular stores where you could probably get a SATA cable. That if you want to get it done right away, or you don't want to wait for shipping or whatever. And then maybe, or a local computer store, I would say, even a computer repair store, they might have used SATA cables, or they might have new ones in their stock. It just depends on, and then they could help you get the right cable. You could take your cable in with you, probably to a computer repair shop that does upsell cables, or maybe a used computer store. They probably would have SATA cables, and you just show it to them, and they'll get you a cable that's exact same one or similar, and they'll know, they're obviously going to know what kind of cable you need. Anyways, so anything else on this? Adding an additional hard drive. Okay, it just kind of goes, hey, I'll go over this. This is a picture of the motherboard from this HP Pavilion, what was it, M7250N. You see the difference between IDE. IDE are older hard drives. They're older school, but they're still used. You can still buy new IDE hard drives. Look at the pin connections. They're obviously different. That's where number one, that is the IDE connections. Number two are SATA. They're quite a bit different. To me, they're easier to connect, and you don't have to worry about jumpers on SATA drives. You just number them sequentially. Now, this graphic you can't tell, but if you were to zoom in, which I can't because I can't zoom this photo, maybe I can make it bigger. Nope. If you look at the motherboard, right about where my cursor is at, alongside these SATA connections, most motherboards I've noticed, they actually label them. And usually they are SATA 0, SATA 1, SATA 2, SATA 3, but it depends on that computer. They might be labeled SATA 1, SATA 2, SATA 3, SATA 4. Not all computers have 4 SATA connections. Some of the earlier SATA computers, well, it could be a price point. I don't know. There might only be 2 SATA connections on that motherboard. There might be more than 4. But as long as you connect your first primary hard drive to either 0 or 1, and then your second hard drive to either 1 or 2, as long as they're in sequential order, you should be just fine. And yes, a lot of times they are color different. This one looks like black, blue, yellow, white. That's pretty standard. So let's go back. That's very important. If you've never installed a SATA hard drive on your own, just know that the connections are quite different, and it's pretty obvious when you look at a SATA cable. And you don't have to worry about jumpers on the motherboard or on the hard drive. The BIOS is supposed to automatically detect which SATA connection on the motherboard you connected it to. And let's see, this is just a image of what the cable, here I can show you real quick. This is a standard SATA cable. Oh, and then the power. The SATA power connections are different. They are similar to the older style Molex. I think they still might be Molex brand or Molex. I don't know. Is that a brand? That's kind of a PC standard. They are different. They are about the same width perhaps, but skinnier. And then you have to make sure that your computer supports SATA. If you don't know, you want to make sure you find out what your computer model number is. It might be, if it's a desktop computer, it should be on a label. It could be on the front. Like this HP, if we scroll up further, it might be on the front labeled somewhere, M7250N, and then you Google that and you try to find out if it supports SATA. Or you could open up the computer case and then look inside, and remember this previous image. You just look inside your computer and look for these smaller connections, number 2 here, and bam, you're good to go. If you don't want to open up the computer case, try to find the exact computer model number. Toshiba 6578, I just made that up. HP M7250N, Dell Optiplex 1600. I think I made that one up. Because you want to make sure that your computer supports SATA. Otherwise, you're wasting time and money. If the motherboard doesn't have SATA connections, obviously you can't hook up a SATA hard drive. I'm not aware of an adapter. I'm not aware that there is a IDE to SATA adapter. I don't know, but I don't think there is. But anyways, I don't think that would even be possible, feasible. I mean, think about it. But I don't know. Anyways, so let's go back to, and then this is standard red and black. That's a pretty popular color cables. And you see how different they are than the older school, wider IDE cables. All you have to do is connect the SATA cable to the SATA connection on the hard drive, and then the power, and that's it. And they kind of have an L shape, so you just have to hook them up the correct way. You see the old IDE? This is an example of it's wider, and then this Molex power. See, the power is not much different in size except for it's skinnier here. And anything else? This just tells you how to open up the computer. And what else? This is specific for an HP M7250N. So I think I'm going to quickly scroll, and then that's it. This shows you how to open up the computer case, I think. Yes. And then put the computer cover back on. Here, I'll show you this real quick. This is a standard SATA connector. Usually they're red cables with the black ends, but not all. I have some SATA cables I bought that they're white and blue, but they're usually, standard, pretty skinny. And then look at the power supply connector. P10s, I think. They're thinner and about the same width as the older style IDE power cables, and they're L-shaped. You can't tell in this photo, but they're L-shaped. Right here where the mouse cursor is, where they actually connect to the hard drive, they're L-shaped. Anything else? Here's a SATA power cable and a SATA cable connected to a SATA hard drive, and that's it. So if you do have an HP 7250N computer, then these instructions are excellent for you. Or perhaps if you have an HP computer, these might help you. But if you have any other kind of computer, I don't know. I would try to find instructions for your specific computer. Anyways, so so that you have both hard drives configured correctly. If all goes well, this will allow you to boot off your new 1.5 terabyte drive and be able to access some data off of your old secondary drive. So maybe you want to upgrade, or maybe your old hard drive crashed, or really it doesn't matter. Whatever reason, there's many reasons why you want to install multiple SATA hard drives on your computer. And then the first hard drive is your primary drive. That's the drive that you want to boot off of. And then the secondary drive, maybe you want to dual boot. Maybe you want to install Windows 8 and then also dual boot Windows 7 or Vista or XP or Linux or whatever. That might be a reason why. Or if you want to get data off your old hard drive, that could be another reason why. If you want to be able to switch back and forth and boot off each hard drive, then that will require more diligence and is beyond the scope of this article. These instructions were written for an HP Media Center M7250N desktop PC with a new secondary. Well, no, not necessarily. They might have bought a secondary 1.5 terabyte drive and their primary was a 1.5 terabyte drive. Anyways, with a new secondary 1.5 terabyte hard drive, but can certainly be used as basis points for adding a secondary SATA hard drive onto other PCs. So this is just basics on how you can add a second SATA hard drive to your desktop computer. So anything else I want to go over? I guess I could go over very quickly though. That would be another video and another blog post perhaps. But a quick way to boot off of different hard drives is either going into your BIOS and setting these device. You would switch. If you wanted to boot off your second physical SATA hard drive that's connected to your second SATA cable, you could swap it in the BIOS, or you could literally just swap the cables physically. It's up to you, or it depends on what computer. There are a lot of computers have a boot menu, and sometimes they're F12 key. It just depends on what computer. You hit a function key on your keyboard, and then that brings up a boot menu where you can either boot off of a floppy or a CD or a hard drive or a Pixie network connection. So, but that's not the scope of this video, but those are just some quick tips on maybe you can look that up, or I plan on, I can make another video for that or whatever. Anyways, you can always browse to anetcomputers.com for more possible potential tips to help you fix your most common computer problems. Thank you for listening.